Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. I have a very special guest joining me. He's going to be the artist of Season Three's intro song and the artist that made the song called You, the Trust the Process. Please welcome the one, the only Note. How you doing, buddy? Talk to everybody.
I'm doing good. It's great to finally make this happen. Like we were saying
Mm-hmm.
before we started, this has kind of felt like a long time coming. We've been interacting over
Mm-hmm.
social media and stuff like that. So just kind of have this in real time and get to share my story with your growing audience is like I'm just thankful. I'm excited to be here.
Listen, man, you've been responsive since day one. Since ever I read a message, you've always been responding back to me. It's just kind of cool because I know with a lot of people, it's hard to respond to a lot of messages. Me and another guest were actually talking about that. She's an international bestseller. And her and I were laughing about that. She's like, "Yeah, people get mad when I don't respond. It's my assistant responding." I'm like, "Yeah, I wish I could get to that level. Have my assistant respond for you."
Yeah. No, I'm glad I'm still able to have like the personal touch.
Yeah.
One of these days that might not happen, but I'm very thankful I get the opportunity. That's like, oh, okay. Especially when like someone like yourself messages, I'm like, okay, I definitely want to make sure I respond to this. So, absolutely.
Right, man. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Because I know you're still kind of new to the scene. So people are starting to see your song. I use your song on almost everything I can. It's actually on the outro for most of the videos too. So people are hearing it all the time. So give them a little background about yourself.
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Note. I spell it a little different, KNoWTe. I'll share end up how that spelling ended up coming to be. But as far as like my story, music has always been part of me. I think a lot of people who are like gravitated toward this art form, it's something that's just ingrained in them, right? It's not there's not like a central moment that it's like, oh, okay, this was the moment I knew. It's just kind of like, to me, it's almost like as needing as breathing. But my father, he did the music thing prior to me. He went by the name PhD 2000, no, PhD back in like the 90s and stuff like that. Stood for like poetry, highly dangerous. So he was like big into like the acronyms and hip hop and stuff like that. But then around the time that I was born, he had a tough decision to make. He had to choose between either going for music or which can be up and down for supplying for a family or
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
for
definitely.
something more like concrete. So he decided to go for something more stable, which is a sacrifice I'll forever be grateful for. That's not a sacrifice I want to make, but would make for my child. So I appreciate the fact that, he chose to do that. But he always kept music in and around me. Right. He had a home studio in the house at all times. And so I just remember growing up on music, whether it be his records that he'd play from time to time, or like my mom, she grew up more so on like the rock side of things, which I think is where like the hybrid
You
sort of.
kind of see that element with your stuff now. A little bit of your dad and your mom showing up now that you
Yeah.
say that, though.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because, like, as I always say, as like 50 Cent was like being played a ton of times in my household, Essence was also being played equally as
Yeah.
much, and Linkin Park and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it was definitely like a hybrid sort of background. And then, once I got into high school, like most high schoolers, you're trying to figure out your place in this world, right? You're trying to
Hmm.
figure out, like who you want to be, what's your calling, what's your purpose. And at that time, I was coming to the realization that, you know what, maybe football isn't going to be my end all be all. There's something more to my life that I wanna do, I wanna pursue. And I fell in love with music. I started off in spoken word poetry, did a ton of open mics, sharing poetry and stuff of that nature. And then from there, just sort of transitioned into written and recorded music. With my first like record as note, being posted on SoundCloud when I was like 17, 18, and I'm 27 now. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to just continue the journey.
Well, I mean, it's in your blood, man. Your mom did it. Your mom was big in rock. Your dad was really big into the rap side. And like I said, you could see it in your music. You could feel that little elements of them coming through. Because I remember, trust the process when originally it started. It's kind of like that movie, That Thing You Do. Remember how the original song, That Thing You Do, is a lot softer, and then somebody's like, "Hey, pick up the pace a little bit," and then just kind of took off like that, and it just made sense after that. So, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. I've been obsessed with it, dude. I'm constantly at work screaming it, crossing trust to people. People are just staring at me like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Dude, you ever heard
That
this
that
song?"
makes me so happy because like, that's, like,
It's
the
so
whole
catchy though, because dude, I'm like, I'm singing this across the room, and people are staring at me, and I'm like, "Y'all don't know this song?" I'm like, "Y'all are missing out on this. You got to check this out." And I always tell people too.
I
Every time I meet
appreciate it.
somebody,
Yeah.
so I love music, man. Like I was telling you before you record, I love music, dude. I listen to everything.
Mhm.
Some of my favorite artists are the John Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls is number one. Papa Roach is number two. And then we get into Stained and Cold. They're right there at 4 and 5. Because Stained was a big part of my high school years and things like
Hell
that
yeah.
too. I like Slipknot. I like everything. I listen to a lot of stuff. I kind of go across the lines of everything too.
Yeah.
Some songs, I listen to a lot of some rap here and there because I had a friend who was big into rap, so we would listen to that too. But I was more of the rock guy, and I love listening to everything. And then I got into punk rock, and dude, it took off from there. I love that Smoke or Fire, Against Me, all that different kind of mixtures all together.
Yeah.
It's always anything that's catchy enough for me, man. I'll just constantly start singing, and people just look at me, "What are you listening to?" Oh man, you haven't heard this, And then Let Me
Yeah.
Bleed, when I met them through TikTok and Alive and Stone,
Mhm.
I was talking all about their stuff too, and I've known them from the beginning as well. Alex from Alive and Stone has been on the show. Me and him have hung out a little bit. Him and a
Hell yeah.
couple of other guys. I'm sorry, Brian. My bad, Brian. What the hell am I thinking? Brian from Alive and Stone had been on the show. He was actually one of the first musicians I ever did within the first month of the show. So he agreed to come on, and me and him were just chatting up a storm. So, like, I love it, man. I think
Yeah.
what you're doing is great. I think
Thank
that you're
you.
you're in the right direction, and
Thank you.
I just can't wait to see what else you're coming out with.
Yeah, no, I'm excited and, to have individuals like yourself who take the time to search for new talent or be willing to listen to new talent, Like this industry can oftentimes be extremely saturated, especially with
Hmm.
a barrier of entry being lowered and lowered, which is good. I'm glad that people are able to have a voice. Everyone needs a voice and something to share. At the same time, though, I'm as somebody who's trying to pursue a career in this, it's tough to push through the noise to be heard. So when someone like yourself comes around, it's like, you know what? I am going to give an ear and I am going to listen to this. And I'm not only going to listen to this, but I am going to advocate for it. I'm like through the moon on that,
Yeah, man.
power
Listen, like I
social
said,
media
I
space.
love it. I use the sounding where I can and things like that. I use a lot of different music and things like that as I go. But yeah, my TikTok has been a real great source for that. I got a lot of people that come down my feed, and then you came on my feed, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this? I'm interested. Here we go."
Yeah.
And you're just watching it, and then just the energy you get from when you're performing, man. It's just like, oh shit. Okay, cool. All right, let me say, okay, I like this, and then more people start showing up. So the more I keep my interacting with people such as yourself, more small time artists keep coming through, and it's great.
Yeah.
I think one of the first artists I ever did was a guy named David. He plays for the Theorists, but they sound kind of like they have that sound like Blink-182 ish a little bit,
Wow.
But I liked Blink-182 back when I was a kid, though. So I was like, hell yeah, this sounds good, and so it's really cool, like what you discover when you're on TikTok, because
Yeah.
I know it gets such a bad rap. But people, it's like, use it to your advantage. Like, this is how I'm meeting a lot of people. And then when Lucy came on the show, people were like, well, how did you get her on the show? I was like, funny story. I went on her Instagram, made a comment, say, hey, listen, would you be interested in being on my mental health podcast? And she said yes. Out of 20,000 followers, she saw my thing. And to this
Yeah.
day, we still talk.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. 'Cause
So,
it shows the power of what you're doing here, and
yeah.
energy speaks for itself. Like, I think
Hmm.
that's the one thing that I've always tried to bring to the table is that, like, I know that what I do isn't necessarily common, right? At least
Yeah.
nowadays. And so sometimes it can be seen as a little off the wall, not like the typical sound. But I'm gonna give my all to it because it's
Yeah,
authentic.
but you want to be unique in your own sound. I,
Yeah.
I get though. Brian's theory is that a lot of people borrow from other artists, which yeah, it's great, and your style, man. You give off that like front man style, like that '80s hair metal kind of feel, but
Yeah.
with the modern sound kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking like Motley Crue and things like that. Because I watched that documentary. The thing was phenomenal.
Mm,
But you seen that was just enriched in their lives and things like that too. And then your mom and dad being big into music as well as your big influences as well. It's kind of cool to see that you're trying to pursue something like this. And apparently you're doing pretty well because I keep seeing posts you going out to these different clubs and doing tour dates and things. So it's pretty cool to see that though.
yeah, yeah, no, things are definitely starting to pick up, especially once I I had like a moment around the time on the fact that like you brought up like the previous version of Trust the Process.
Mhm.
You know, around that time, I had, I guess I could say a mentor at the time. There's always that one person that looks at like kind of like what you're doing. You're like, okay, there's potential there, but let me point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And it was like 2022, 2023, late 2022, maybe early 2023, where he looked at me and he was like, why are you trying to be a hip hop artist? You know, what you bring to hip hop is cool, but you have rock bones, like the way you
Mhm.
perform, even in your recorded music, although it's primarily in hip hop as far as the beats, your delivery and everything is rock. Why are you trying to be hip hop? Go, you should dive into rock. So I was like, okay, let me take a shot at this because it's a side of myself I've always been, I guess, timid to share. It was something that I guess I kept close to the vest, you know, always afraid to be like that weird kid or whatever, because
Yeah.
that's what was told to me in high school when I would try to share certain sides of myself. So when that moment happened and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go full tilt, a lot of momentum started to pick up. You know, people started paying attention to the big red hair.
Yeah. It stands out, man. Like red's the first color you see if you really think about your color, practice the color. And I love the name too because the typography is a big thing for me too. So like that's why in my Instagram name it's completely spelled incorrect, or
Yes.
it's got the more N's in there because it drives people nuts because they're like, oh, they don't like you breaking the norm,
Right.
And you got to think though, other people are mixing those kind of styles, like Papa Roach. That's why one of my favorites because I like the fact that how the song kind of flows. He has those other ones that are real soft and other things, but he can always just go really quick if he needs to. So I kind of felt that when I was listening to Trust the Process. I'm like, oh, dude, this sounds kind of like, little, and everybody compares everybody to everybody, which is great because it's like a lot of people sound similar,
Mhm.
but you yourself are a unique artist on its own. You know what I mean? Everybody has a different story when it comes to it.
Mhm. Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I like you said, I try to I think it's just me trying to just be me. I never went
Yeah.
into it like, okay, I wanna go into it sounding like that person. You know, I went into it with influences like most people,
Yeah, definitely.
but, like, I definitely went into it saying, "You know what? I wanna make music that I like to listen to."
Yeah.
You know, one of my biggest inspirations is 21 Pilots, and
That's funny you say that because a friend of mine just went to a 21 Pilots show. He
yeah.
actually listens to the show. So Andrew, if you're hearing this, listen, he said 21 Pilots, man. He likes to tell me about these bands like I don't know who they are. He's like, "Oh, do you know 21 Pilots is?" And I'm like, "Yes, dude, I know they are."
Yeah, no, they're phenomenal, like, they were the first ever song I learned on the keyboard was Car Radio, like,
Yeah,
21 Pilots is a huge inspiration of mine, and one of the things that they always preached is, you know, just be yourself, you know, unapologetically and do for others, and when you perform, make it about others. So that's why, like, you know, I would go to, like, these hip hop bills that would be put on, and I would stand out because I would make the performance about the people who attended the show instead of look at me and how cool I am. It was like,
yeah,
let's create an environment that you feel like, okay, I came out to an experience. I was able to escape for the 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes you were on stage. You know, those are the type of moments I tried to create. I remember there was a show very early on when I was still doing like smaller hip hop bills that there was, it was in like this coffee shop and there was a chair. And in one of my songs, I was like, you know, I wanted to do like a jump thing. So I was like, I climbed on the chair and I had everyone put their hands up. And it was the owner looked at me, and was just like, "Get off that chair." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." And then after me, it was so funny because then the host was like, "By the way, I didn't know I had to say this, but no climbing on the chairs." I was like, "My bad."
sorry, man. I'm in the moment, dude. God, I'm
Right?
in my rock
Right?
star moment. Gosh, man.
Let me have it. Like, the crowd loved it. They remembered it, right?
Right, exactly. No, man, it's awesome. No, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
glad to see that your things are happening for you and that you're just doing your own thing, man.
yeah.
And I think that's really what it comes down to is just, owning your sound and stuff like that too. Like, Tanis from Life's Lost, he was on the show as well. And he's always interesting to watch too, because he's very animated. So you kind of give that feel too. Like, a lot of people love that, when you're out there just connecting with the crowd and stuff. Even in the smaller spaces, I feel like those are better. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
the bigger venues are nice, but when you're that close to people, like we're here in Dallas, so there's one called the Southside Ballroom we were at, and Jacoby gets off stage and gets in the crowd kind of thing, which it's kind of one of those. 50-50 experiences when you get off, but, like, he just likes to be in the crowd of people. I could just see that, though. Eventually, you're gonna just end up crowd surfing across that thing. Watch. I'm waiting for that moment where somebody records you going, "Alright, let's go for it," and just leap over
Yeah.
there and go for
No,
it,
no,
kinda thing,
that's definitely
so,
gonna be me. That's definitely something I wanna do. I didn't know you
yeah.
were in Dallas. That's so cool. I'm gonna have to make my way out there one of these
Hell
days.
yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
For
Hell
sure,
yeah.
man. I'm that'd be awesome. Yeah, that's why I'm like saying watching the tour dates. I'm like, when you come in the Dallas area, when you come to the Dallas area, because I've always wanted to see. I unfortunately missed Hannes from Lies Lost when he came to Dallas because my wife had an operation
Mhm.
the night
I hope
before, so
all
I
is well
couldn't
with
go. And I was like, she's doing well.
Okay, good, good.
So, a lot of people, let's appreciate everybody reaching out and letting me know their thoughts and prayers and everything. She's
Yeah,
doing really well now. Seems
good.
like she's feeling a lot better now. So, but, and all that kind of stuff. So, you mentioned though you're a big mental health advocate. Do you have family members that suffer from mental health, or do you deal with issues?
Yeah, so, mental health is definitely something that is big for me. It's something that is a through line in a lot of my music. I guess to speak on myself personally, um, gravitated towards music because it was a form of escape, not really
Hmm.
realizing that maybe I did need to talk to somebody, didn't take until I became an adult and okay with the fact that I can go talk to somebody, that, things started to get a little easier.
Yeah.
I myself, small form, but like anxiety induced, like OCD. So like I'll like click my door locks like a bunch of different times.
Okay. Okay.
Until it feels right, and yeah, I remember, like, I filled, like, the intake form, and they were like, "Oh, like, you definitely suffer from, like, general anxiety and stuff of that nature." I was like, "Okay," so it wasn't just a feeling that, I guess was lingering in the background, like, it was, like, something legitimate, and then, like, not to name anyone specific in my family, because I definitely don't wanna
Yeah.
place
No, I get that completely.
anything on them. Addiction definitely does run in my family.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand though with mental health. You think about addiction and mental health is the same thing. A lot of people will take medications because they're
Yes.
trying to fix the problems and not realize that they have the issue. So I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and, like, alcohol oftentimes was the escape of, or the escape of choice for some members within my family. They're doing better now. One of them just passed a year sober, so I'm incredibly
That's
proud
awesome.
of them. I know that it was, like, a hard fought, battle, and I was there in, like, the early stages, and stuff of that nature, and it's just sort of good to see him come back to himself. Um
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, no, addiction and mental health is definitely core to me, not only because I witnessed it, but because I just feel as though that music in most arts, but music is the one for me that can transcend a lot of different feelings and get
Yeah.
things off your chest that you normally can't really portray or feel connected to something bigger than yourself that maybe you don't feel connected to yourself, but you feel connected to these sounds that somebody's sharing.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why I write music. Like, yeah, there's songs that, you got to be braggadocious here and there. But to me, I write so that in those 3 minutes that you have me in your ears, you're escaping into or pulled into something, maybe not escape, but like pulled into
Yeah.
something that you feel connected to in those
No,
moments.
I agree, man. I think
Yeah,
that's why Chester Pennington was so big, though. He had such an
absolutely.
influential, and people that didn't get to hear the earlier when he first came out, I think they missed out. Like, yeah, you can go back and listen, but when you were there in the moment when he
Mhm.
came out originally, like just the songs alone, you connected to instantly because this is a man telling his own stories of his own battles, and unfortunately we lost him.
Yeah,
And when he passed, so many people came out of the woodworks like, man, he influenced so many other people, and I wonder if he knew what he was doing and know that he was going to leave his message the way he did, and it proves that, everybody deals with something regardless. He was ultra famous, had all these things going on, and he still struggles with things, and I think
absolutely.
it's crazy though, because we don't want to talk about these things. Like, people think that they feel so taboo to talk about your mental health, but we can talk about cancer, all these other things, but why can't we talk about what's going on in our heads sometimes?
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the biggest fallacy that a lot of people believe is that success negates you from feeling depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
or loss or failure. Like success isn't measured monetarily. I know for a lot of people it is, especially these day and age, right? Like the economy isn't the best and all that sort of thing. So, people, I myself sometimes fall victim to like, well, if only I had $1 million, like all my problems would be solved. But, at the end of the day, like it won't be, because it wasn't the money that was the issue. It was a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And if you lose that sense of purpose along the way, or that driving force, that fulfillment, it can be a very daunting feeling. I think there was an artist, not was, is Logic.
Mhm.
He's another great artist and one of an early inspiration of mine. And he said that when he made the suicide awareness song, he was finally starting to get the traction that he's always dreamed of. That was the moment that he was at his darkest, which
Yeah.
feels counterintuitive, right? It's like you've worked so hard to get to this moment and you finally get there. Why was this the darkest moment? You would think the times you were barely scraping by would be the darkest moment, but he explained that, like, you think when you get everything that you think you need, all your problems will be solved. But then you wake up the next day and nothing's changed. So it's that, again, realization that, like, the problem wasn't the thing that you were chasing. The
Yeah.
thing you were chasing could oftentimes be a distraction. So you definitely need to, like, try to check within yourself as best you can. Connect with communities, whatever community it is. It really doesn't matter anything that you feel a calling for, right? That you feel a safe space for.
Yeah, definitely.
I think ultimately people are drawn to connection, to feel a
Mhm.
groundedness. And wherever that comes from, it come from an art form, a community, whatever it is. Just I think that is what oftentimes works when you lose that groundedness.
Yeah, I think you make a great point though, because it's like, when people connect through music and, when they come up to someone, they tell them, well, hey, listen, your song got me through the darkest days of whatever, whatever the situation was. I think it's the greatest connection for most people because it's like, all right, you made this song. Okay, it's popular. But when someone says that it helped them through, I think that honestly, and maybe you can contest this too, that was the greatest feeling of all. Yeah, fame's
Absolutely.
great and all, but someone coming up to you saying, hey, listen, no, I listen to your song, man. It got me through the roughest times of my day. That's it. You've already made it made your year right there. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's awesome. I'm glad that I could help you in more ways to know. We may not know each other, but I helped you get through these darkest times. And a lot of the songs like holds like that too. I don't know if you ever listened to them, but they're like a lot of their stuff's kind of like has a dark feeling about it, but at the same time, it's just like for whatever reason, I drew my attention to them because I didn't know who they were at first until somebody introduced me to them. And then I went through, we started going back and listening to their discography, and I was like, man, I love this because I like Stained.
Mm.
Aaron Lewis was a big one for me too for a while, and then I seen these guys, and I was like, man, all right, well this is what's up here. I like this. And then that led me to explore other avenues of other songs and other things. As I started digging in deep, but the Goo Goo Dolls, like I said, the song Iris, I felt that one,
Mhm.
like like the isolation and things like that too, because I spent a lot of time as a kid alone by myself. Like I spent a lot of time by myself. In fact, when I was 10, my mom abandoned me.
Mm.
So when I lived with my dad, he was never home. He was always out working, and then his girlfriend or the whatever girlfriend was there at the time, the one we were with long term for a little bit, she was never home too because she was working. So I spent a lot of time. So I could feel his isolation of him looking down at the world and, people not seeing who he is, and, not knowing anything about him. But I spent all this time, all the way through high school myself. So I could relate to a lot of the songs there, and things like that too. But, I also like, I listen to Marilyn Manson. I know it freaks a lot of people out, but I love Marilyn
Marilyn
Manson.
Manson.
I just love his expressiveness and the fact that he doesn't give a fuck what people think about him. He's just going to
Correct.
go for it, at the end of the day. And that's the shock value he went through, and he knew what he was doing when he was doing it. People are like, oh, and then the 90s had all those rumors about him. And he's like, whatever. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to let y'all keep talking all you want.
Yeah, yeah, hey, sometimes bad publicity is still publicity, right?
People are still talking about you know what I mean? And the Nine Inch Nails is another big one, dude. I grew up in the 90s, man. One hit wonder central, just different songs that came through.
Well, now we got different versions of one-hit wonders, right? Like, you get the
Hmm.
TikTok sound, like, where somebody will pop off of, like, the 30 seconds of their song, and then everyone goes to see them perform, but they only know the 30 seconds. So it's like, I don't know, maybe I'd rather be a one-hit wonder in the 90s because at least you'll know the whole song, not 30
Exactly.
seconds.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is those guys from Chumbawamba? Like, everybody knows that song, and then when you hear it again, you're just like, "God, I'm that old that I remember this song?"
Oh my
You know,
god.
it's like all these songs you do, you're like, "Oh, this" I'm like, "God, I'm classic rock now. My music's classic rock." I remember classic rock being Motley Crue, and all these other ones, it's like, now, like old school Metallica, not the new school stuff. We're talking old school hair metal Metallica, things like that. It's like, damn, I'm that old, huh? Shit, I just
Time
hit
is
40 this
weird.
past year, man. I'm just like, fuck, I'm old. But,
No,
it's been
time
great though.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
time is weird, like, 'cause I feel that too, right? Like, my high school years were Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with
Hmm.
Sirens, A Day to Remember,
I love Day
Issues.
to Remember.
A Day to Remember is fantastic, and I literally just saw a post that said, I forget the name of the album, but it was one of their notable ones. It came out 12 years ago, and I was like, I remember being a sophomore in high school, like, mad excited that this album came out, and, like, me and my friends, like, ran to the lunch table and we're, like, going to listen to it, and now that music is being considered, like, elder emo, and I'm like, "What are we talking about here?"
Exactly. Listen, I could date you. How about this one? My sophomore year of high school, I remember turning on MTV when it had videos, and the
Mhm.
first music video I ever saw my sophomore year was Last Resort by Papa Roach.
Wow.
That's how old I am. I just dated all of you out, okay?
Yeah, no, I was born in '98. I'm a '98.
Oh, you were on the tail end of everything. Oh, so you missed out a lot of shit there, man.
I did,
Born
I
was another
did.
big one for me. Like, I just like Jonathan Davis's delivery of like how he did the songs, and it was fast paced with the metal sound to it. Slipknot was great.
Yes.
But they got a lot of, but it's funny though, they get a lot of backlash, but when you really look into the guys, they're very, very big into, religion and things like that too. And it's like everybody has something to say. Rammstein was big. Remember those guys from Germany? Those guys were really interesting at the time to watch. God, what do we have? Blink-182. We had boy bands. Listen, we had Backstreet Boys. You had the whole debate of Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC. Who's better? We
Yeah,
had those kind of discussions going on. So,
yeah.
hell, I remember CDs were big. I know we're going real old school now. I remember when CDs were big before, Pandora and Spotify and all these other things come
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
man. Like,
luckily,
fuck.
I was, like, still around to when, like, CDs were
Hmm.
still a thing. Granted, they were on, like, their way out because, once I got to, like, late elementary school, early middle school was when everyone was, like, illegally downloading,
Yep,
music to
Napster. Yep.
MP3, yeah, Napster, you know, um
Kazam. Oh, yep. All
yeah,
those other ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Soulja
God, man, I
Boy
feel
was the
old.
biggest thing out at the time, like, it was
Remember when
crazy.
Napster Metallica sued Napster for all that money and everything too after all that? And it was like just people just want more different access to it. Like CDs are great, but it's like we were getting into that point where you started seeing the iPods start showing up, and then whatever
Yeah.
that other weird off center one was,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
MP3
everyone's trying
players
to
were
make,
getting
like, the
big and
iPod competitor, yeah. Nah.
yeah, the one that never lasted. Yeah, and things like that too. And it was so interesting to watch it as it evolved too, because then you could link it to your car radio. My brother, he had the first like beginnings of ages of like Bluetooth radio where he could take his faceplate off his radio, take it in the house, load his MP3s on, and have all his music on there. And we thought that
Yeah,
was the coolest thing ever.
yeah.
Because we had those burned CDs where you're just burning shit on the CD, trying to make your own little mixes and stuff,
Mhm.
and driving around the speakers blasting. Yeah, dude, those are the days though.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
can
loved
see
it,
you
man.
reminiscing, this is awesome.
I'm telling you, man, I love music, dude. I'm a
Yeah,
big music guy. I love rock. Like I said, rock was huge for me. Like I check out any of these little interesting bands that come out, the one hit wonders, and then you start listening to some, and then it's like the Wallflowers. Okay, take for example. Tell me anybody that tells you they get to list any other song on those albums except for One Headlight are lying to you. Okay, that's the only song they were good for, and that's it. You don't know anything else. All the other songs just are just shit. You got to the other parts of the album, and you're like, what the fuck is this crap? This is just like, what is this shit?
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it's hard to find a complete album to listen to, that you could listen front to back. Last Resort by Papa Roach is, their album Infest. Sorry if I'm, okay. And the Infest album by Papa Roach is the first one I've ever listened to front to back.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was just the sound that connected to me, I just loved it all, and they had that hidden track near the end where it was just nothing but rhythm the whole time, and he's just kinda going off like he's freestyling at the end or whatever, and then it got to when I got to my punk rock phase, I got into Rise Against. Now,
Mhm.
The Witness and The Sufferer, hands down, is my favorite album of all time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could listen to that front to back, not even skip a song at all, and I knew every word to every song, but it was
Yeah.
just like it was that connection you had because I just love the flow of it. It all kind of flowed together, and things like that too. So they're massively high on my list. They're like number 3 on my artist list of
Yeah.
people I just listen to on a general basis. So anything new they come up with, I listen to. Now that I'm a podcaster, I've always listened to a lot of podcasts too. Like I have too many to even list that I listen to, but I'm always mixing it up with different things. But Let Me Bleed, You, Alive and Stone, in Lives Lost are now taking over the Now More portion.
Hell yeah.
Well, Let Me Bleed, man, dude, I don't know if you've ever checked out any of their stuff. Oh my god, Eddie
I
over there
see you
is making
posting
some
a lot about
shit.
them. I've seen you post a lot about them. You'll, like, share their posts, and I really like it. I like what they're bringing to the table for sure.
Eddie and them are amazing, dude. He did a great cover of the what is it, 10 Statues That Bleed Blood.
Mhm.
Holy shit, it was really good too, and things like that too. But it's interesting to look if you think about where some of these people started to where they're now. The evolution of their sound alone is different, like, and it was great because Stain was like that. They were like real kind of like, and then when it hit the later years is when it really started taking off because a lot of their stuff started sounding a lot different than what their original sound was. Like 13 Shades of Grey was a way different album versus everything before. And it's the same thing with Metallica. I liked Metallica before Saint. After Saint Anger, we could argue all day that I didn't really care for it as much. I just liked their sound, but I grew up in the '80s, so I'm used to hearing a lot of that stuff too. So I was '85, so my mom was a big Kiss fan and things like that too. So and I see you though, I see that Gene Simmons coming out too a little bit, man. But there's nothing wrong with that though, because Gene Simmons stood out to everybody knows who Gene Simmons is
Yeah,
nowadays.
of
Like
course.
he could walk down the street and you could see him. Everybody probably remembers from the Dr. Pepper commercials, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Y'all don't understand the greatness that he was.
Yes, yes, yeah, no, especially once I did the, like, the Quinn, like,
Hmm.
makeup,
Hmm.
the point in which, like, people are like, "Are you gonna do that on stage?" I was like, "Maybe one of these days," like,
Maybe it's like maybe I'll do some Kiss cover songs or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Oh
I
my
could just see it, dude. Just like get the big old like big prosthetic tongue just coming. I'm like Gene
yeah.
Simmons.
Oh
Just
my
start
god.
looking at people weird. Just the tongue just starts
Yeah,
flying
yeah.
out and
Well,
shit. Oh my god, that'd
I
be
naturally
great.
stick the tongue out anyway. My wife hates it, but, like,
She does.
we'll be in regular photos, and I'll just be like and she'll be like, "Why are you doing that? Like, you know any other pose?" I'm like, "I don't know, it just feels right."
So let's get into this though. Okay, so about your wife. Tell us a little bit about your wife, man. That's awesome. I didn't know you were married.
Yeah, yeah, I recently got married, so
Oh, that's right. Okay, my bad. I do remember now because I've never seen the
yeah,
real
yeah, yeah,
beautiful
no,
wedding posts, man. They were amazing. So how did
thank
you
you.
guys meet?
Yeah, so we met in college, freshman year of
Uh-huh.
college, we met
What were you studying in college?
audio engineering technology.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So to at the time, I was doing the whole like, "Hey mom, like I want to go for music and that's it." And she's like, "Well, I'm still your mom. Let me look out for you. Like, let's find a route where you can go for music, but you'll still have like an engineering degree." And I was like,
Yeah, definitely.
all right, fair enough." So stumbled upon audio engineering technology and I was like, okay, cool. I'll do that. And I went to the University of Hartford in Connecticut and
Okay.
so did she. And I met her the second day of college. I was just kind of enthralled. I really loved hanging out with her. And I guess the feeling must have been mutual. And I remember going back home that weekend and like turning to my parents and be like, I think I found a girl. And they're like, you just got there. What are you talking about? Like, at least enjoy like classes. Like, classes haven't even really started yet. Like,
Yeah.
something. And I'm like, no, I think I found someone. So then, I get to school. Make a long story short, we were friends for a little bit and eventually the friendship turned into a relationship and then we were just together ever since. It was 9 years on the 24th of September. And then we got married July 3rd of this year.
Yeah, yeah, I remember the photos. They were clean. It looks great. It looked like a great wedding.
Yeah.
Guys look great. I was happy for you, man. I saw that. I was like, hell yeah. We didn't even know until you posted. I was like, oh shit, he got married. Hell
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's go, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So what kind of music does she like? Is she into the same stuff you are, or is she like your mom and your dad? Like you're the rock guy and she was more into the other stuff too, or
Yeah, so she didn't dive into music as much as
yeah.
until, like, it came around. She definitely was more so listening to, like, whatever was out at the time. And she's originally from New York. I'm originally from New Hampshire. So, like, completely different demographics, but we balance each other out. So I introduced her to a lot of my, rock music. So I introduced her to, like, to the 21 Pilots, Pierce the Veil, Day to Remember, All Time Low,
So what
like,
was she listening to? You never answered the question though.
oh,
What
what
was
did
she
she
listening
listen to?
to? Yeah,
True.
what was she listening to? Here we go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, nowadays, she definitely listens to, like, her pop girly music.
Oh,
She
okay, yeah,
she enjoys her, like, Sabrina Carpenter, Demi
yeah.
Lovato. Who else? Who else? Whatever, like, pop girly is, like, really popping at the time.
Did you get into that K-pop shit like everybody else is getting into?
She does enjoy K-pop Demon
Look how he avoids that.
K-pop Demon Hunters is definitely an album, or at least that soundtrack is definitely being played a lot throughout the house, which is good. It's
You're
good.
like,
The record
yeah.
they did was amazing. But yeah, she's more into the pop scene.
Listen, you can blink twice if you're in trouble right now. It's okay, Miguel. If the cue
No,
card's in the
she can
background.
definitely hear me outside of this. Like, she's, like, right
Yeah.
outside.
No, right. So I know though, totally off topic, that you're
Yeah.
a big anime fan.
Yes.
And oh god, dude, have you been watching God, what is that one? The one where the kid is in the pit. I can never say it. Gotcha something. I can't remember, but it is some insane shit going on in this show.
Is it the one where, I think it's, like, it's the
The
newly, like, popular one where, like, he got, like,
mm-hmm.
banished to, like
Yeah, the pit. Basically got
the
banished into
pit.
the pit, and then he got stuck in there. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now on my phone.
Yeah. I wanna
This
watch
one,
it.
this one right here. Gotcha.
Yes.
That one
Yes.
right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's crazy, man. So let me ask you though, what is your top 5 animes?
That's a good one.
You knew it was coming up too. You knew
Yeah,
this
I had a
conversation was
feeling.
coming.
Yeah, so I gotta go, like, my first introduction to anime, which was
Mhm.
Dragon Ball, or Dragon
Yeah,
Ball Z.
yeah. I see. I remember that about you though. You're a big Dragon Ball fan. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first one I ever saw. I think my first one personally was Trigun. I
Mhm,
don't know if you ever seen it. It's really good with Fascist Stampede. He's the center character.
mhm.
He basically evolves, and you find out a secret about him. I don't want to say though because it
Yeah,
kind of gives away most of it, but it's a very interesting one. It starts out very heartfelt, and
mhm,
then it gets really serious in the end of it because a lot of different influence of things.
mhm. Hell yeah, yeah, nah, so yeah, Dragon Ball Z
Hmm.
specifically, that one was the one I grew up on. Everyone wanted to go Super Saiyan, right? Everyone was doing their Kamehameha and, like, the classic.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna have to go with newer, stuff. So I think in no particular order, I'm just gonna go, like,
yeah. Go for it. No.
so I'm really excited for My Hero
Hmm.
Academia. The last season, I'm really excited for that one. I personally love Shigaraki. He's, like, my favorite
Hmm.
character.
I
Um,
agree.
After that, I did recently start Soul Eater, and that
Dude, you're
one.
finally watching that. You're gonna love that. Trust me. One of my five fives.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, although I'm, like, 20 episodes deep, I think it's only, like, 50 something episodes long.
Yeah, it's a very short one though. It's pretty good though.
It's really good, like, I'm really enjoying it. The soundtrack is amazing, like, I just posted about it. I was like, I love the days when they would, like, try to localize the soundtrack, a little bit, and, like, they'd introduce, like, rock or, like, R&B, into anime. So, like, when Death the Kid walks in, you'll hear, like, an R&B record, and I'm like, "That's
Hmm.
so fire." After that, I'd say only because I really, really enjoy, like, the action scenes. Solo Leveling is really good.
Solo Leveling's good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one too.
um, the that one we just, like, I call it, like, the pop of anime because it's like a pop record, right? Like, it gets you to the good stuff right away. Let's just keep playing the chorus over and over again. They just
See, I felt like that with season 2, Demon Hunter was like that too, man. The train and the first 2 episodes, and then it just took off, and I was like, "Oh my god!" At first, I was very hesitant to watch it. I had a young guy keep telling me about it. He's like, "Oh, you should watch Demon Slayer. Oh, you should watch Demon Slayer." I'm like, "I'm not gonna
Yes.
watch Demon Slayer.
Yes.
Forget that. I'm not watching that crap." And he's like, "Oh no, no, you need to watch this. Oh, you need to watch this." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." So the first season for me was kind of slow until it got to the end.
Yes.
Second season just blew off the doors after 2 episodes. I was one telling him about it. It's like, "Bro, did you see this?" And he goes, Dude, I've already been watching it. What do you mean? And then the second half of that season where they get into the marketplace and they start doing it, I was like, oh my God, you know?
Yes.
And then when season 3 came out, went into the Sword Village, I was just like, talk about shit taking off real quick. It's just like, here we go. Boom.
Yes. Yes.
But you know,
Yes.
but Attack on Titan was like that too, though. But season 2, it slowed down so bad. Like we all cringed when watching season 2 because like, it took all this time just for you to discover the thing about Aaron's dad's in the basement type
Yeah.
thing, you know, going on. I was like, really, fuck, man. But
Yeah.
then that one got better too as it went on as well, you know, and things like that as well.
Yeah, I think, and then just to top it off, yeah, Demon Slayer. Like I can't have the Demon Slayer, core logo on my hand and not say Demon Slayer. So like I
Right, right.
I do think that animes recently, like I do miss longer form animes where
Yeah.
it was like 20 to like 30 episode like seasons, that and there would be even like filler episodes where you're going on side adventures and stuff like that. Like I do miss that.
Don't lie, you don't miss the filter stop. None of us miss the filler, okay?
And
Listen,
there's
that
certain, there's
if you
certain
go through One Piece, half that filler is like,
That's true, that's true. Okay, on One Piece, I'll give you that, I'll give you that. But there are, like, certain side adventures that were just fun, I don't know. But I think what they realized is, like, Sound realized, like, they'll do, like, 12-episode seasons and, then, like, a movie. And it's like, okay, and I think Demon Slayer, I don't wanna say Demon Slayer was the one that started that, but I would say Demon Slayer definitely popularized that form
mhm.
of release.
Well, in the 90s, we had, what is it, the Dragon Ball Z, different weird movies like Lord Slug, you know,
Yes,
World's Strongest, you know,
yeah.
all those other kind of like side adventures it took you on. And then the Ungodful Dragon Ball GT came out after, you know, the
But we
first 2
got the
seasons.
Super Saiyan 4 transformation. That's the one thing I like, Jeets.
I'm glad that's the only takeaway you have from that. Listen, if they didn't do it until after Super, I think it would have made more sense timeline wise.
Mhm,
Because if you think about it, Pan doesn't show up until the next season, up till Super's when she appears as a
yeah,
character. So now you're bringing this other character into play. Now, if you've done it differently and, you know, did that one, and then you could have done Dynamo after that if you had to, you know. But to me, that's like where I think they messed up. They started doing that, and it was like, ugh, it's kind of like, you know, it just doesn't fit in place. Well,
it
if you
it it
watch it,
it
it's
doesn't.
just like, no. Because you introduced it way too early. That was the thing. You introduced her way too early. And, you know, and Pan was the reason why Vegeta didn't go to the Tournament of Power originally almost, you know. And if you read the books are way differently. Like, you know, I love that part of it too. If you go looking through the books are a little bit different to what's going on. I'm like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a big kids one, but if people really went and looked at the manga would tell you it's a whole different story of like how it goes. Yugi's actually an evil character in that one, and he kind of does play tricks on people and weird things, you know. It's kind of a whole nother perspective to what it would look like, you know. But I get what they were doing. They were appealing to kids because you're trying to figure that next thing
They're
is
trying to sell
Pokemon when it took
cards at
off.
the end of the day. For, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! They were trying to sell
Jesus
cards.
Christ, yeah, they still are.
Yeah, 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 I definitely
I
have.
remember when Magic the Gathering came out. Shit, I'm not. That's how old I am. I remember Magic the Gathering came out, the earlier sets.
When
Had
when
we
did
known
Magic: The Gathering come out?
in the 90s, when it came out,
Okay,
it
'cause it
started out with the
it got
original set, and you know, one of those cards from that set are still worth like $500,000 at least raw. And if you know, grade it, I think the last time when that graded record, I think it was like $3 million one of them sold for.
wow,
They're printed actually out of here, out of Dallas. There's a place out here in Dallas that prints a lot of them and cuts them and stuff. My dad was working for him for a while. He
wow.
was the guy that did all the like product, the packaging design. He was making sure the cards didn't get damaged because he was like, yeah, did you know they're sending out these cards? It's like $14 million street value. I'm like, yeah, about right. Sounds about right, man. They
That's
pay a shit ton.
crazy.
And he didn't know all. He actually met the guy who invented Magic the Gathering too. They met up with him and he's like, yeah, they're playing this game. I'm like, oh, Dad, you don't want to play Magic? He goes, I don't got time to learn that game. I don't know what that is. That's too complex for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I
I
was like,
remember,
oh
like
God, man.
I remember, like, going to, like, the comic book stores in, like, high school
Mhm.
trying to learn it, and, like, it was just so cumbersome for me that, like, I couldn't learn it in
God, it
person.
was so complex in the beginning. My brother used to teach me how to play because he had a friend of his around the corner from us. God, dude, you walk in his room, he had a whole drawer open of just card stacks in there of just different things. And it
Yeah.
was so interesting because my brother's the one that got me into it. And then I played for a little bit. The one I really liked was the Dragon Ball Z card game when it came on the 90s. Me and my buddies used to play all the time. So, you know, it had the main personalities. You get to play as these personalities and all these different cool little moves from the sets. And then it kind of went off and got a little watered down later on, you know,
Yeah.
to what is now. Now the cards now are really cool too. I haven't got back into them, but I was like really interesting. And then, you know, Funko Pops came around for me and I was just like,
It's you had a
I
couple
fell in
up
that
here.
trap. I got a bunch out in the living room. I actually have a case. I'll have to show you a picture of it, but I have almost all the characters signed from the Dragon Ball Z series. Actually, the young voice, the young Gohan, actually lives here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She actually lives closer to the Oklahoma borders where I met her at a convention.
She's literally my favorite voice for Gohan to the
70,
like
yeah. Oh, yeah,
he
70. She was real nice too, man. Let me tell you, the nicest lady you ever met, dude. I was fan crushing hard on her, and she was just so nice about it too. She was really cool. She could tell I was super excited to see her. My
yeah.
wife, when we were dating, had pointed out that, hey, look, this convention is going on. There's this lady. You may recognize her. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I do. So we went and met her. The coolest lady ever, dude. She was
Mhm.
so cool to me too, and like she would do the voice for you if you wanted to pay her. She'd let you record the voice and everything else too. So, and then where I'm at though, the studio's out in Frisco. So you get a lot of different people popping up, like Android. Dr. Zero's voice actor showed up a couple weeks ago. Krillin's voice actor's been in the
Wow.
area for a bit. Vegeta, Goku, and all of them are in the area too a little bit. So they pop up a lot of times around the area. So it's kind of catch her. You got to kind of catch them when you can, kind of thing. So it's kind of cool though.
Yeah, no, she, definitely because Teen Gohan's my all-time favorite anime character, just, like, bar none.
Hmm.
Specifically Teen Gohan. I know a lot of people once he becomes an adult just kind of write him off, and he's making a little bit of a comeback, but
Yeah,
his
ever since the
story arc
movie,
up
yeah,
till
dude.
yeah, his story arc up till that time was, like, perfectly done, but then when they came out with Dragon Ball Z Kai and they replaced Gohan's voice actor, I was really upset to the point in which I'm like, "I can't watch this dub."
I
Like,
didn't watch it at all. I didn't watch it. I'm gonna be
just
honest with you.
because they changed Gohan's voice.
And that
So
intro song, ugh, listen, and when you're
yeah,
watching an anime, guys, we all gotta admit the OPs are what we're looking for. Like Tower
yeah,
God, the Crunchyroll series they made,
mhm,
such a great intro. The Stray Kids made the intro for for that one, the first season. It was just so catchy, and it was my ringtone on my phone for the longest time. And then what is it? The new one, that new one I showed you earlier, that one, dude, that intro just grabs you. And there's another one too. I can't think of what it was, but it's just like
Dawn to Dawn has a great intro for the first
that one
season,
too.
if you watch yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The
You
second
better believe. It.
season
Yeah.
grew on me.
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. It was interesting to me. I've watched a lot of stuff too. I like anything RPG kind of related. Like so, Shangri-La Territory was a good one.
Mm,
Rising the Shield Hero. I fucking took to that one. Like but I
wow,
also grew up with Dot Hack though. You got to remember, I had Dot Hack.
okay.
A lot of people didn't get a chance to experience what Dot Hack was, and it was like the first like immersive type game, like they were promoting to people that was like you go into this VR setting and you're the actual characters, so you're literally first person playing out
Mhm,
these people like it's like your own virtual D&D session kind of thing. And it's a real great one if you haven't seen it. It's an older one, but it's really a lot of interesting stuff. So then it goes into a bunch of other spin-offs and things like that for the games like that too. Like Final Fantasy was big for me as a kid. So I was a
mhm,
big RPG guy from the beginning. Sports wise, I was a big baseball guy. I like to watch baseball, play baseball. Football, I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan now, but I loved watching Bo Jackson as a kid because he was on the Chicago White Sox and I'm from Chicago. So
mm,
I always love watching everything he does, and things like that too, and stuff like that. And I didn't even discover anime until like Hellsing. That was like one of the first ones, like first kind of got
mhm,
an idea of what it was. I was like, what is this? Someone had to introduce it to me because
mhm,
I'm as old as VCRs, like we had go in these little video store type things in the mall and you start seeing these animes and you're like, oh, these covers are so cool. But I never really explored it until I started watching Dragon Ball Z, but I had Sailor Moon, I had Gundam Wing, I had all these
yeah,
other
I was about to
interesting things
say,
too,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, like, you definitely were part of, like, the
Mhm.
growth process of anime
Mhm.
as it was starting to come to the West, where it was, like, still niche,
Yeah.
now it's
It
like
was very, very niche because I was, like pro wrestling was bigger than anime was. And now it's like you're fighting for control because I love pro wrestling in the 90s, but I also had the big figures like you had Hulk Hogan, Macho Man. You had all these really big stars. Now
yeah,
it's kind of like, I feel it's kind of watered down, but that's just because I grew up in the 90s. I got spoiled. I had all these big, larger than life people. The Giant, Andre the Giant was still big, when I was a kid,
a lot of
and
people say that, like, I'm not as big into wrestling,
no,
my,
no, you had to do 90s wrestling, man.
yeah, my
If you have if you have like the Peacock subscription, you can go back and watch the older stuff. Compare
wow,
it to what you're watching now. You'll see the difference in it. I just think the developments,
the
the things they
star
got away,
power,
because everything was just so new though. You got to remember, like the NWO was new, so we all thought it was cool to be a part of the NWO. Something different. Or DX was big when me and my brother were kids. So we all wanted to be different characters and be part of those group and everything. My brother, he was like Triple H, and he's the younger brother. I was more of the the badass Billy Gunn because I was just a goofy kind of person, and things like that too. And it was just like you could relate to some of these guys better because they were large life, but now it's kinda like but, I mean, I get it, though. People like it. It's still like it's still popular for a lot of people, but,
Mhm.
you know, when you get spoiled in the '90s, man, you're seeing the Road Warriors, all these other things pop up,
Yeah.
it's like, now it feels so watered down to me, it's like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
Even Saturday morning cartoons, bro, that's all we had Saturday morning cartoons, shit.
Yeah, yeah, no, I remember, like, rushing home, from, like, Saturday morning errands with my
Mhm.
parents and stuff to be like, "I gotta get what's on TV." Like, 4 Kids, was,
Yes.
definitely the wave for sure. Like, I remember, like, I was big into, like, Static Shock, that was also playing
Mhm.
then as well. Batman Beyond,
Yeah, Batman
love
Beyond was a really
Batman
good one, too.
Beyond.
I was a massive Batman guy as a kid. Spider-Man was always big for me. All the different like Marvel, X-Men when it was started the
Mm,
animated series started
yes,
playing, you know, it's
yes,
like you
yeah.
had we were spoiled beyond belief. Ninja Turtles was a
Honestly, we were.
massive one.
Like, looking back, I will say, like, media, I think, reached its peak around,
Mhm.
like, I would say, like, 11 maybe, was, like,
Yeah,
when
because think about it, there's not a lot of cable companies anymore, and that was the big thing. Everybody wanted cable. You wanted cable for your subscription to HBO. Now it's all these apps, and now we're a digital age of these things going on because you can access everything from your phone,
yeah,
YouTube TV, and all these other things that the built-in DVRs. Hell, I remember DVR was still big. You know,
yeah,
TiVo was your thing. You know what I'm
god.
saying? Like,
I remember asking my grandmother to, like, tape, or was it TiVo, whatever, Pokemon, because like,
there you
Pokemon was
go.
still yeah, yeah. I was like, "Oh, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna be
man, I'm
back by
telling
in
you.
time, like, can you, like, record it for me?" And then I'd get home, and I'd be like, "Yeah."
You know, Ninja Turtles was big for me, man. I grew up as a Ninja Turtle fan. I still am a Ninja Turtles fan. I'm collecting the graphic novels. They were making them in hardback copies. I
Mhm.
have to catch up on them though, but they're making good collections, a bunch of volumes together in one. And I liked it because the realness of it. Like you couldn't show these, you couldn't let little kids read these because you know Ninja Turtles were always so fun and
I was
animated.
just about to say that. I heard that the, Ninja Turtles series, like, from a comic book perspective,
It's good.
it can actually even get a little dark. Like, wasn't there, like,
Hmm.
the last Ronin series
The
that they
Last
did?
Ronin is phenomenal.
Yes.
If you've not checked out, I own every one of the comic books of the series. I got all of them, all the pieces and everything too. It was one of those things. Like I said, I was a big Ninja Turtle person. The game is coming out, and I think they said they're making a movie now too. But they were
Yes,
hinting at,
yes, yeah, I am enjoying this Ninja Turtle
yeah,
cast and animation that they're doing. Yes, did they rip the animation straight from Into the Spider-Verse? Yes, but, if it works, it works, and it works. Like,
yeah.
I'm enjoying the direction they're doing with the Ninja Turtles right now.
I don't like the look of the Ninja Turtles. You know, once again, I'm an '80s guy, so I'm used to the original Ninja Turtles. They look like I remember the live action movie. You know, because you know
Yeah,
what you would do is you always look for those little things. Because I did study video for a long time in high school. That's what we did a video editing class, and like the what is it, the three men and a little baby scene where when it pans over and there's that cardboard cutout in the windowsill. Everybody thought it was a dead kid. You know, the stories start coming out what it was. Like Ninja Turtles, the original movie, I think it is when they're in April's apartment. If you look at the mouth of Donnie, you can actually see the person inside the suit a little bit in
yes,
there. You know what I mean? Like those little things you start to notice after, like Detroit Rock City for one too. For people who don't really know, is if you watch the scene where the guy's in the pizza after they give the mushroom pizza to the priest, and they get in the car and the guy's like, "Oh, give me that last piece of pizza," and he grabs it and it falls sauce down, cheese down. Oh no, it goes cheese down first. No, sauce down
I
first or
think I
cheese
know
down
what
first.
shot.
But it changes up though, and you like, you know, these are the things we used to do all the time. We check them and stuff. So you know, it was interesting to see because you're always looking for that kind of stuff. Now it's like, you know, you don't get to see those kind of things anymore because everybody's too busy looking at all the flashing lights and everything else. But you know,
Yeah.
those are the things we used to do though. But yeah, to me, the Ninja Turtles are the '80s Ninja Turtles. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you there, but
Yeah, yeah, hey, I'm not the biggest Ninja Turtles fan, but I don't know, I'm enjoying the
yeah. Well, I mean, it's good you're enjoying it though. I mean, I'm glad they're doing justice to it because it was such a big thing for us as kids, you know.
yeah,
And you know, oh, the birthday, oh, dude, the flooded market of just shit they had, all the toys and everything. To see some of my childhood toys and how much they're worth these days, it's fucking insane.
yeah.
It's crazy, like you know how much
Does it
these people
make
are
you
paying.
wonder, like, "Oh," I wish when I was like 5, I wasn't trying to play with it and I just like kept it pristine because I could be rich right now. Like, does
You
every
know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I'd be a millionaire, trust me.
yeah,
Listen, I would be a millionaire. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I had almost the original set of Turtles. I had Shredder. I had a friend. He had the Technodrome and stuff like that too. And it was the same thing with the Power Rangers. My neighbor's mom would coordinate with my mom and get the different stuff. So when we hung out, we didn't all have the same stuff, so we could combine all the Zords and stuff together. So he get all the flashier ones, and me and my brother would get the other ones, and then we go over and play with him, and then we'd have them all combined together and things, you know. So it was very creative the way they'd market stuff like that,
yeah,
you know, because like all the ability to have everybody come together and play together, because, you know, now it's, you know, well, we had Sega Genesis then too. You know, that's when I first introduction to video games was like Sega Genesis. And then I remember we got a PlayStation. That's it, man. Take
changed
it
the
to the
game.
cleaners, baby. Take it to the cleaners. Final Fantasy 7 and took off, you
Yeah.
know, and things like that too. But I used to play Sega Genesis all the time. NHL 94 was a big one for me because I was a big Philadelphia Flyers fan as a kid. I loved watching Eric Lindros, and my brother was a Red Wings fan. So already had rivalry going there, not to mention sibling rivalry. We were just going at it all the time, watching them play and things like that too. So, you know, it's great and everything like that. So, we're at the portion of the show. We're probably a little over it, but it's fine. We're gonna go. I'm gonna ask you two important questions here.
Yes.
Okay. So my first one, you note, is if your mental health had a song, what would that song be?
That is a really good question.
It is, isn't it?
I hate to go
Here he
to
goes.
what my song my
It could
go-to
be.
song,
There's
but,
no
like
judgment here of whatever your song is. So you're more than
yeah.
willing to tell us what it
No,
is. Okay. Listen.
I was gonna say, like, I know I alluded to it a little bit ago, but yeah, 21 Pilots Car Radio. I think that would be the best representation, because one of the biggest lyrics or most notable lyrics in that entire song that almost became like a saying for the fans that, you know, follow them is, "Sometimes quiet is violent," and as somebody who's a chronic overthinker, that can't not sit in silence because my brain will just go and go and go and go and go and go. I relate to that very much so, that something as
Yeah.
small as a car radio being taken away from me could place me on a path that, like, my brain just can go to places that probably shouldn't, you know? So I would say, yeah,
Yeah.
21 Pilots Car Radio.
Definitely. Okay. So the second question, and the reason this podcast exists, is if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now I'm talking about anything you see that sometimes just drives you absolutely crazy. What would it be?
That mental health is something that is just fixed. Um, I think the stigma oftentimes is like, okay, like you go to therapy or you're given medication and you're just fixed, you know? When that's not the reality. It's not a broken bone that, you know, will break and then you put a cast on and it just heals, you know, and sure you'll feel the aches and pains every now and then. For the most part, like
Yeah,
everything's back to normal.
definitely.
Mental health is a constant battle. It's something that you can have a good couple days and then a bad couple weeks, or you could have a good couple years and then one really bad, you know, year. It's something that ebbs and flows. You know, I just wish people could understand that, give the people around them grace about that. And most importantly, if you're going through it, give yourself grace about that. Like if you are having a bad moment right now, it's okay. Give yourself patience and time that you deserve. So that's what I would say.
I absolutely love it, man. All right. And with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete for Exciting Note. Thank you so much for coming, man. We
Happy
are definitely going to be talking a little more often, man. I guarantee it. Well, we already do now, anyways, but, you know, obviously more now. But
Yeah.
where can everybody find you? Where do you want to send them that they can come check you out? Do you prefer
Yes.
TikTok, Instagram? What's your favorite social media for them to come check you out? Obviously, Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio. He's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Everywhere. No, seriously though, everywhere. If you want to find me, if you search my name, KNoWTe, on Google, I'm one of the first things that pop up, which is really helpful. All my social media is note underscore worthy, KNoWTE underscore worthy. I'm unsure when this episode will drop, but more than likely by that time, I would have announced that I have a new song coming out on Halloween. It's my big song of the year, One Last Time. So if you enjoyed some of what we talked about here, some headbanging, some, just real good energy, you're going to want to look out for that record and pre-save it once I post all about it. So I hope to hear
Man,
from y'all soon.
definitely, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate reaching out and being on the show,
Yeah,
and everything else too, man. It's been great having you. Man, we'll have you come back again and we'll do something else, or maybe,
I would
we'll
love
figure
to.
out some reason to come back and just talk about something.
No, I would love to. This is awesome. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much. Hey, listen, man, you're always welcome here. Okay, guys, and we're gonna wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You know where to find me on Pete vs. Anxiety. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio and Pandora Radio now too. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing out saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?